Okay, please decline part 2. So yesterday I've shown you this TFM validation library that I have, which is sort of convenient to give feedback to tech font metric designers about the problems that they have. So if you look, for instance, at this file, you can see that the error is a file overflow, which is pretty self-explanatory. In this format, the file is supposed, the format is supposed to specify the length of the file. And there is a bunch of those in the TechLive distribution. It's actually maybe not a serious error. It's probably a case where the font designers add additional data at the end of the file, but it's not supposed to be used for anything. Maybe it's comments, strings, or whatever. So it might not be a serious problem. I don't know, if you look at something else down to the top, you will also see other kinds of bugs that I discovered. For instance, there is an invalid char info here, which is supposed to represent a null character, so it's not supposed to have a pointer into a ligature canning program. So that's the kind of errors that you get. Okay, so far so good. But if you look at this one now, what's the problem? If you report something like this to the font designer, all the guy's gonna have is a fixed word overflow. This one is out of range. Oh, this one as well, this one as well, and there is dozens of fixed word overflows in this font, okay? But that's not really informative, okay? You're lacking some context, in fact, because if I show that to the font designer, it's gonna tell me, okay, but where is the problem exactly? I don't know, okay? So here's the thing. When the conditions are created, you're at this level down below here. So you don't have any information about the context in which the problem occurred. So all the condition can do here is say, I'm a fixed word overflow, that's all. And then the conditions circulate in this flow up to the top level, to the handler binding, which is established here. And here, the handler binding doesn't have any information about the route that the condition took in the graph, okay? So the question is, how can we provide context, additional context, which would be non-interactive and which would be informative enough so that the font designer can do something about the error, okay? So here is sort of a trick. It's probably nothing incredible, but I remember that probably 15 years ago when I discovered that, I was a bit puzzled by that part of the common list standard. So it says that a handler can decline to handle a condition. It does so by simply returning rather than transferring control. And when this happens, the return value from the handler are just discarded, okay? And then the condition continues going on its way. But what it doesn't say, and I find that the terminology is slightly misleading, is that even though the handler is set to decline to handle the condition, it can still do side effects. Okay, the return value is not used, but the side effect can occur. Okay, so here is the idea. All of my conditions in this library, the abstract base class for all the conditions in this library is equipped with a slot called context. And the thing that I do is that every time I know as the programmer of the thing that a specific context could be informative for the font designer, I'm just adding a binding for the condition in question, which is going to decline handling the condition, but yet it is going to fill something useful in the context slot of the condition. In other words, if I go through that route, the condition is grabbed here, the context is filled in, and then the handler declines, so the condition continues walking down the path and arrives at the top level where the context is filled in, okay? So that's nice. It's not complicated to do, but it's a bit ugly. You just need to establish a handler for the condition, set the slot value to something interesting, and for instance, design a generic function doing some printing in a string for the data structure that the context contains. And of course, as you know, this is Lisp. So if you have some yucky things like that to write down, you don't want to expose the boilerplate. So you can put the dirt into under the macro carpet. And it's much more readable to have something like with condition context, which wraps the whole thing in a more readable thing. And there you go, okay? So if you look at the result of doing something like this, I'm going to grab the first one here, and instead of just throwing fixed overflows at the face of the font designer, I can now, in a human readable form, inform the person that this one, for instance, occurred when I was passing the width table at position 1, blah, 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 blah. And then hopefully the font designer is going to be able to do something useful about that, okay? So, conclusion, do not underestimate the power of not handling conditions, except that you're still handling them in one way or another. And that's all I have. Thank you.